I wanted to start with something that's nightmare based today. So, what's a horny pirate's worst nightmare?
I don't know what is a horny pirate's worst nightmare.
A sunken chest and no booty.
You sure that's not your worst nightmare?
Yeah, well, maybe.
And oh, before I forget,
I'll kill you if this is a joke.
You want to die tonight?
The You Run Podcast.
The You Run Podcast.
The You Run Podcast.
The You Run Podcast.
Why isn't it possible?
I can't say nothing. Or Candyman will get me.
You choose the movies.
I had a heart on this morning when I woke up, Tina. Had your name written all over it.
You score them.
Nice fucking model!
You review them.
For that you get the head, the tail, the whole damn thing.
Why not, you stupid bastard?
My name is very fucking confused. What's your name?
Captain Howdy.
You don't want to go fooling around other folks' property.
In my goddamn soul. Where's a beer?
Because after all, this is not our show. This is your show.
I can't help but sing it. It's a thing now.
What is that quote from? I'm very fucking confused. I know them all apart from that one. What is that from?
Anyone knows, call into the show. I'll tell you off the air, but if anyone knows, call into the show and tell us.
Please don't make me wait, because that'll just annoy me now for the rest of the week.
I'll tell you off the air, but if anyone knows what that is, call in. Hello, welcome to the original horror movie review podcast, run and controlled by all of you. This is the You Run Podcast. My name is Scott.
My name is Mark.
And we are the premium interactive horror movie review show. There are lots of ways to get involved in this show. There's scoring the movies, there's offering a 3-word review or a 10-word takedown. Takeout. These features appear on our social media. If you don't know where to follow us, it's at You Run Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Trends, and Slasher. If you want to follow Mark, because he's still stalking us, despite 2 weeks of me pleading for him to get a new stalker, you can do that as MW_horror_reviews on Instagram and Slasher. And he's now MW_horror_VHS on TikTok. Yeah, the other way, I like the fact you're now on Slasher too.
Yeah, I'm trying my best with that as well, but I always forget to go up and do, because I just bang everything on the same thing and then just sort of spread it out and then I just do it and then forget about it, and I always forget to do Slasher.
If someone created a single app where you could post something and it distributed it everywhere, they would make a fortune.
Why are you telling everybody? Let's just do that.
Okay, yeah. Patent pending, You Run Podcast, leave it alone.
Before we start, though, do you actually know anything about making apps?
No.
Yeah, okay, right. This may be dead in the water already.
Yeah, anyone who knows about making apps, call the show.
They're just going to steal our idea now and take it.
Shit. You can also get involved in the show however you want, whenever you want, by sending us an email, yourunpodcast@gmail.com, or you can leave us a voicemail. You can do that wherever you're able to send an audio message. So that's Instagram, Trends, Twitter. You can also record a TikTok with no music and basically tag us in it, and we'll use that in the show as well. I made some comments on the Rob Zombie Halloween episode. We got a message directed purely at me for a change. Would you like to hear the wonderful message we received?
If it's aimed directly at you, then definitely.
Okay, well, this is what we got.
To say that, Scott, I'm going to quit the true crime if you don't stop fucking around with me. I don't sound like that. Yes, I'm country, but I do not sound like I fucked my cousin. So, y'all shut the hell up. Actually, it's more Scott this time. Mark, you ain't even really do anything, I don't think. But anyways, bye, bitches.
For once, I actually wasn't part of this.
No, and Heather was dead serious as well. I had like a 10-minute conversation with Heather after. It was like, I didn't mean any offence. She's like, well, you did offend me. Fuck you. I was like, shit.
Excellent.
So I'm dreadfully sorry, Heather. We've all patched up now. We're recording tomorrow night for True Crime, so she's not quit. So anyone who listens to True Crime, don't panic. She's still with us.
For now.
No, permanently, not just for now. Heather's not going
I don't
anywhere.
know. I feel like this is just going to continue now.
No, I'm dreadful sorry. Anyway, moving on. It's time for news.
Before we move on, I've done that really annoying thing where I haven't opened my beard. So rather than me pretend to silently do it in the background, I just make some noise now.
Yeah, just open it right by the mic. That's what you normally do.
I'm sorry, everybody. I'll do it now, and then it's done, and then I can try and stealthily do it throughout the show without causing distraction. Right.
Okay.
Hold on. Nearly. Right, I'm good to go.
You're good. That was actually really quiet as well. I barely heard it, so you could have just done that silently, and no one would have.
Oh, really?
Known. Yeah. And I'm not editing that out either. I've got a bit of news that made my heart warm this week. We are getting 28 months later, with Danny Boyle returning to direct and Cillian Murphy reprising his role. I am so happy.
I am ecstatic about this. The thing is as well, because this is just one of those stories that keeps popping up every 6 months. It's happening. It's not happening. Danny Boyle's back. He's writing. He's directing. I need some more evidence than just articles on the internet, I think, to get me excited about this.
Danny Boyle has confirmed himself this is happening.
Yeah, but he's done that in the past as well. He's said numerous times, like, yeah, I'm ready to go. I've got this great idea. And
why are you pooing on my happy news?
No. I'm happy that you're happy, kind of. But yeah, I don't know. I need some more legs behind this for me to get excited about it, because it's just one of those things that everybody has been craving since 28 Weeks Later, because that film was fantastic, a great sequel, and then just nothing apart from rumbles throughout. And I would like to see Cillian Murphy back in it as well, because that would be really cool. I'd like to see them give us more backstory on what happened between the events of 28 days and what's this one, 28 months?
28 months later.
Yeah, so what's that? That's like 2 years, isn't it? Just over.
I'm still questioning whether after all this time, anyone will actually be able to separate him between the character he plays in 28 Days Later and Thomas Shelby from Peaky Blinders, because that's who he is now to everyone.
Or Oppenheimer, as he seems to be these days. He's doing very well for himself off the back of that.
He's great.
What kind of yeah, he's a fantastic actor. I loved him in Batman as well when he was a scarecrow. He was really cool with that.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
What accent did he have in 28 Weeks Later? 28
I
Days
think,
Later?
Was it Scottish? I want to say Scottish.
Yeah, he definitely weren't the Brummie he was in Peaky Blinders. I don't know.
No.
We'll see. We'll see. I'm excited for it. I hope it happens, but who knows?
Okay. Another movie which has confirmed a sequel. I say confirmed a sequel. An actress slipped up while being interviewed and let slip that this has been confirmed. So Zoe Dutch was being interviewed for a movie that she's got coming up, and she let slip that Zombieland 3 is in pre-production with a planned release date of 2029.
Is that 10 years? I thought these were coming out every 10 years.
Yeah, that's 10 years from the last one.
Oh, right, okay. How long's it been since that now? I keep forgetting.
2019 that came out.
Wow. So shit, we're not actually too far away, really, are we?
No, apparently it's done. It's written. Everyone who needs to be on board is on board, and it's all basically good to go. They're just sat waiting because they want that genuine 10-year gap. They want people to have aged 10 years and changed 10 years before they come back and do it.
Yeah, I hope Bill Murray makes it. I hope he survives long enough to have a cameo, or at least go and film Bill Murray's cameo now and just save it ready for 2029.
Could you imagine if Bill Murray didn't make it? It wouldn't be the same.
No. I think they must have a backup plan with that. Like, hey, Bill, we've got this script, we've got this idea, we're just going to hold on to it, but everybody else can wait, but we need you to do your bit now. Because since you're already dead anyway, we don't want you to age too much.
Or if he can't make it, they use Dan Aykroyd instead.
Oh, that would be a nice touch. But he can't be far behind Bill himself.
No, I'm not being funny. I don't think my mind's gone blank. Tallahassee. I don't think he's a million miles. Woody Harrelson. I don't think he's a million miles behind him either.
Yeah, but he's one of those people who smokes copious amounts of marijuana. Those guys live forever.
Is that how that works?
I think so. Yeah, it's like a miracle grow.
Yeah,
Human miracle grow.
It's like who's the guy from the Rolling Stones who should have died about 100 years ago, but he's alive.
Keith Richards.
Yeah, alive purely on amphetamine, still running through his system from the 1970s.
It's like Woody Nelson. He's still going strong. That's because he just smokes weed all day. Snoop Dogg still looks like he's 21.
This is true, and he smokes probably more weed than anyone on the planet.
Exactly. So there you go. You heard it here first on the You Run podcast. Go start smoking weed.
Wow.
Yeah, actually, no, that's not probably the best message to send out to our listeners.
No, if there's a supplier of weed who'd like to become our sponsor, call the show.
He's got a local drug dealer ringing up this show.
What have you got this week for news?
So again, on the sequel bandwagon, we have the confirmation that A24's Talk to Me is getting a sequel, Talk to Me. So with the number 2 this time instead of Talk to Me. I haven't seen Talk to Me yet, but I've heard amazing things and I am determined to see it. But there's so much stuff coming out at the moment, especially that we're getting for the show and stuff like that I kind of need to jump on. So I have a kid. I don't get the time to go to the cinema as much as I'd like to. So when we go, I kind of have to nitpick what I want to see.
Yeah.
And this has just sort of slipped under the radar, really.
Yeah, it kind of has for me as well. And I've seen loads of good reviews online. If I'm honest, this sits right in my wheelhouse, but there's something about it that doesn't appeal to me. And I don't know what it is. There's just something about it. I see the hand. I'm just like, nah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a great backstory behind the directors, though. These guys were just YouTubers who started making short films, and this is their debut. They got noticed, and production companies came to them and said, "Here, do this."
Yeah.
From all accounts. So it's a great story to have for them, and I wish them all the success in the world. And I think the movie, by all accounts, is fantastic, especially from horror fans as well, because this is only a 15 rated. It's not very often horror fans tend to get behind stuff like this, but people are calling it genuinely terrifying. So I will watch it eventually.
Yeah, I will. We'll no doubt it'll be in a poll at some point next year. We'll appear on the show.
Watch it.
Yeah,
exactly. My next small tidbit of news is not necessarily horror related, but this has been announced that Norman Reedus is planning on joining the MCU as Ghost Rider, which I think is amazing casting.
I like Norman Reedus, but the only reason they're casting him as Ghost Rider is because he rode a bike for 10 years in The Walking Dead.
That's all you need. Most of it will be on CGI anyway.
Yeah, but if it's just going to be CGI, I don't think you're going to top Nicolas Cage as Ghost Rider.
No, and to be honest, I don't really think he has the charisma to carry an entire film on his own as a main focus character. So the chances are, with his introduction, we'll probably just see him in some sort of bit role in another film. He might pop up in Blade.
Deadpool 3.
Yeah, something like that. So although he's been cast, don't get excited about him having his own movie. The chances are it will be something small, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I read the other day that Deadpool 3 is rumoured to have the largest cast of characters since Endgame.
Really?
Yeah, apparently, like every cameo you could possibly dream of from all of the franchises, all of the versions of the franchises that they've dropped will appear. There's even rumours that Wesley Snipes will reprise his role as Blade for that movie.
It's just a bit wild, isn't it? Because it seems to be these films have just taken on something else now. They're more about fan service than they are anything else. With Guardians of the Galaxy, they do it, and then Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness, that does it, and it's like Spider-Man did it. It's like this. All they're doing now is just nostalgia hits for everybody rather than focusing on.
The thing is, I think they've got a plan. I think there will be a point where whatever gateway they opened up into the multiverses, their plan will be to close it and bring their story narrow again so they can tell it for a longer period of time.
Yeah, I think they need to. I think that's a great way to introduce Deadpool to the MCU as well, because this is his first MCU outing, isn't it? He's Sony before this, was he not?
Yeah, he was, yeah.
So it'll be cool I like the fact that they're bringing Wolverine back and a lot of the OG X-Men cast, and this will be the first introduction to the X-Men to the MCU. He'll do some sort of splintering with the timeline that will cause... I mean,
Chaos.
The Flash, I just watched The Flash not so long ago. Great movie, by the way. Absolutely fantastic. The CGI is abysmal.
Fucking dreadful.
Laughably bad.
Absolutely. It's the sort of shit that I could do with like a downloaded app where you like add lightning strikes behind you as you run. It's that bad. It's terrible.
That end sequence where they've got all the like planets coming into this little orb thing, and you get Nicolas Cage's Superman and you get Christopher Reeve's Superman, and I'm like, oh man, that is dreadful.
Yeah,
it looked so bad, and I just cannot understand for the life of me. It's Andy Muschietti who did the It series as well. It's like he seems to have these art directors that follow him around who are just dreadful. He really needs to get some new special effects artist guys on his movies.
Yeah, or just go practical.
Yeah. Definitely. It's just silly. He fucked the It chapter 1 and 2, I think, with his heavy use of CGI, and he massively did it with The Flash. Some of the stuff in there is just borderline laughable.
Oh,
what was annoying about
chapter
that
1,
is...
I'd disagree. I loved It chapter 1. It chapter 2 was way over the top.
I mean, It chapter 1, I liked It chapter 2. I don't have anything against either of those films, but the use of CGI in both of them is really poor. I see, even in number 1, where it's the like painting, that is dreadful.
Yeah.
You can't even argue with that. It's bad. And
no.
It's that kind of level of CGI, but constantly throughout the entire movie of The Flash. And it's just, but my point was, anyways, The Flash did the same thing. It's just nostalgia, bringing back old fan service characters, and it becomes that swamped that the story itself gets lost in all this fan service. So I hope they kind of dial that back a little bit, and Deadpool's maybe the one to do that by going so over the top to then just cut it off, if that makes sense, which I think they do. Ryan Reynolds is a clever guy. He heavily influences these films. I don't think he would let a property that he cares so much about go to waste. So if he's got an idea and he thinks it's going to work, I imagine he will probably follow through with that.
We need a horror universe. We need Hellraiser. We need Pinhead opening up gateways to different horror franchises.
The problem is that all of these properties are all owned by different companies. There's been talks of various crossovers throughout centuries. We talked about Freddy versus Jason, didn't we?
Why don't we do, like, I don't know, pick a shitter, lesser known franchises that won't worry about selling their soul? Do like Puppet Master and Child's Play.
Oh no, Don Mancini would not share that.
Maybe
the Leprechaun franchise.
The Leprechaun and Puppet Master. What a collab that is. I'm all in for that. Anyway, we're getting sidetracked. This week, it's time to return to Elm Street, but not quite how we remembered it. All of the cast are back, with the addition of Wes Craven himself in front of the camera. Freddie looks like a genie of the lamp, and Langenkamp gives arguably her best on-screen performance in the franchise, in what I can only accurately describe as the movie pilot for Scream. It's Wes Craven's New Nightmare from 1994.
Mark it, common mark.
I'm doing a film about my nightmares as I'm dreaming them. In order for the movie to continue, it was dependent on me having more nightmares. Well, fortunately, I did.
I'm a little frightened by what Wes may have tapped into. I frankly felt that it was over when we did the final nightmare.
In a town where movies go over schedule and directors go over budget, something far more evil is out of control.
The world of horror films suffered its own terror today as 2 of Hollywood's best-known special effects technicians were found dead.
Part of the theme of the movie is becoming like part of the making of the movie.
Can you come with me in my dreams?
I think that only happens in the movies.
What happens when the story dies? The evil is set free. Now that the films have ended, the genie's out of the bottle. That's what the nightmare writers are telling me, and that's what I'm writing.
This is still a script we're talking about, right, Wes?
He's decided to cross over out of films into our reality.
The only way to stop him is to make another movie.
Oh my God.
The bad man's getting awful close.
You're gonna have to make a choice.
What kind of choice?
Whether or not you're willing to play Nancy one last time.
Cut the effect!
Isn't there somebody who can stop him?
That person's you.
Why me?
But it was you that gave Nancy her strength. Nancy.
Almost there.
Where's my son?
So, listeners score the movies, as you all know. If you're new here, listeners score the movies. They've scored this an 8 out of 10. IMDb coming at 6.4 out of 10, and Letterboxd a 3.3 out of 5. We'll give our scores at the end when we give our roundup. I'm going to give you a little bit of overview if you've never seen this before. It's a 90s meta horror. Sees Wes Craven, Robert Englund, and Heather Langenkamp return to play themselves, as Wes' nightmares drive him to write a new script for a new Nightmare on Elm Street movie. Little do they know there's a real demonic force trying to push through into the real world, and it's using the character of Freddy Krueger to do that. And that's pretty much the overriding story. That's all you need. I like the opening of this. The opening sequence, I think, is great, where they open in a dream.
Yeah, they kind of, and as well, they do the callbacks to the original. You get the creation of the glove, in essence, before we switch to what is actually a film set.
Yeah, and I love this. The only thing, my only criticism here is the use of CGI.
Oh, I didn't notice a CGI in this section.
The CGI, I'm sure when the glove crawls across the floor, that's CGI or it's superimposed, cell over. It looks terrible.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, no, I know what you're referring to now. It's when the animatronic hand is crawling around the stage. It looks like it's done on a green screen and then plastered over the top of it afterwards. It doesn't look the best.
No, and the Addams Family was out at this time. They could make a hand running around on the floor look much better than that.
Yeah, it's disappointing. But to be honest with you, I think the first sort of 40% of this film is pretty concerning in terms of direction and film photography. It looks like a Lifetime special, mate. Let's be honest, it does.
See, I knew you were going to go there.
Zoinks, Mark, that is like the worst take ever, man.
I knew you were going there.
That's because you must have known yourself that it's true then, if you thought that's where I was going to go with it.
No, it's because you fucking messaged me earlier to tell me you were going there. I like that you've got a slow build to this, and I like the slow build. It's something that doesn't exist in any other Nightmare movie, even the first one. There's not much of a build before you get into it, but with this, you've got a good, I don't know, it's a good hour and 10 minutes of build to lead to even when you get to a point where you get a decent shot of Freddy.
But I don't have any issue with the actual plot or the build-up. I thought all of it was really, really enticing. I really liked the characters' developments and the fleshing out of who they are, because even though we recognize their faces, these are completely different people to what we've known them prior to anything else within this franchise. It just doesn't look great. It looks cheap. It looks like a made-for-TV movie. Everything that's filmed in the daylight, the acting is really wonky. Not so much from Langenkamp, as you mentioned, she's fantastic in this, and even Robert Englund as himself early on is great. John Saxon, he does great, but it's all the other people around them that it's just very unconvincing, and like it just doesn't look very good.
Yeah, I'll give you the little boy's not great.
Oh, I actually quite liked him.
Really? Dylan?
Yeah. Dylan, yeah, for his age, I thought he was fantastic in this.
Oh, really?
Especially at the end as well. He starts getting weird as shit, man.
He does go sort of all red rum towards the end. So this starts out with Heather's nightmare where she dreams that the puppet hand that's on the set of the new Freddy movie kills her husband. Is that actually her husband?
Yes.
It is. I thought it was. So it kills her husband. It kills two of the special effects artists as well. It then goes to her. She's going for an interview. and like there's earthquakes, which...
Oh, no, it doesn't kill her husband.
No, her husband gets away. It kills the two...
It like gets his hand cut or something like that, but it kills the two special effects artists.
Yeah, and then when he wakes up, he's got a cut on his hand, and they wake up in the middle of an earthquake.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, I've probably just done it in the earthquake." So obviously, he doesn't know the dream because they're not interconnected with each other. This is Langenkamp's dream. She's visualizing this happening.
The only thing I'd say is I find it strange that, like, she's an actress, and in this story, she's played Nancy, and she's been in a Nightmare on Elm Street movie. If there was an earthquake and I'd had a bad dream, and like Lisa had cut her hand, I wouldn't instantly go, shit, those movies I've been in, Freddy must be real. It's a real fucking leap.
Yeah, but we kind of do get the slow build introduction that she's got this stalker who keeps calling the house and saying lines from Freddy movies and singing the 1-2 Freddy's coming for you kind of thing. So she's getting these weird phone calls to the house anyway prior to this first dream that we've been introduced to. And I think at some point her husband actually says to her, have you had one of those dreams again? So this might be a reoccurring thing for her at the moment.
Yeah, that she's just, I don't know, it's sort of a PTSD kind of effect. She's incredibly jumpy. The nanny is odd. So, like, the nanny comes round to look after Dylan when she goes off to an interview. I find the whole concept of a nanny so bizarre. Because, like, the nanny comes in and takes over, and Dylan is so detached from his mum that, like, he's excited to see the nanny because that's the person who gives him love and interaction. I find it so odd.
Yeah. From that standpoint, I kind of agree. I never really thought about it in that much depth. I mean, I have people who come and look after my daughter, and me and my wife need a break. And when, like, her Auntie Chloe comes, she's one of those aunties who's not actually her auntie, but he's like my wife's best friend. And she's like, oh, do you want me to take Margot out for the day so you guys can go and do whatever you want to do? She comes around and my daughter just goes wild. And it's like, oh, okay, we know where we're not wanted.
Yeah, but you don't do that every single day of the week.
No, of course not. No.
And that's what I find strange. People who have nannies who are like, they're in their house, they're doing their own thing while someone else is raising their child. I find it so, like, why would you do that? Why?
Oh, you mean like actual living nannies who are constantly, that's their job, is to raise your children for you?
Yeah, it's just weird.
Yeah, I agree. It's very strange. But if I could afford it,
I'm
not saying I wouldn't do
It's strange, and I would still be a part of my child's life. I'd still be involved, but my God, someone else would be doing bedtime. Someone else would be doing the trips to school. Someone else would be doing all the shit bits that I don't want to do.
We just pick and choose the niceties of parenting.
Yeah, it'll be, right, okay, you can get my child up, feed them, dress them. Once you've done that, I'm going to take them out and do something. I'm going to bring them back. You're going to feed them and put them to bed.
Yeah.
It sounds like a fucking dream. Nancy goes for her interview. She has her interview. Her interview kind of goes all right. When she's leaving, she gets a phone call from New Line Cinema, and the worst fake sounding, hi, this is Jenny from New Line Cinema. We'd like you to come in. Bob wants to see you. It's like, fuck off. No one talks like that.
Yeah, well, before we get that, though, we get the weird little interview segment where Robert Englund jumps through the back door dressed as Freddy and interrupts our interview.
Oh, of course. Yeah. So they've got all these fans dressed as, like, Freddy in the crowd. Yeah. And they're like, we've got a surprise for you. You've not seen Robert Englund since you filmed Nightmare on Elm Street 3, and here he is.
And he just bursts through the back of the set in his full Freddy get-up.
Full MTV Freddy as well.
Yeah.
He's like going up to the fans like, ha, 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 Freddy's here.
Freddy back, yeah. Just opening his arms to them all, just reeling in all the attention.
And the stupid thing is, this was how it was.
Yeah.
When Freddy was at his peak, Robert Englund would go on talk shows as Freddy Krueger and give interviews as Freddy.
Yeah, that is wild. That is absolutely wild.
Yeah, and you'd never get that now. Could you imagine, like, Jamie Clayton, when she played Pinhead, going on and giving an interview as the Cenobite Queen? That's never going to happen.
Man, the 90s were wild. I loved the 90s.
Yeah, it was great. But, yeah, it doesn't exist anymore. The best one would be Michael Myers. Michael Myers.
Wouldn't be much of an interview.
They done it for Freddy versus Jason, didn't they? They had like a press conference and a weigh-in and fucking everything for that
was
movie.
Brilliant. I loved that.
Yeah. And Freddy's like, ha, you miss your mama. And Jason just sort of sits there. It's like, who come up with that idea?
But they used to have like Chucky as like guest spots on SNL and things like that, didn't they?
Chucky needs to guest spot on SNL again. Now.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah. So she gets a call from New Line Cinema. She goes in, and that's actually New Line Cinema's offices, which I thought was cool.
Yeah, that was cool. I like that. I didn't know it was actually their offices, but you get to see quite a lot of stuff on the walls and stuff. I thought that was pretty impressive.
Yeah, and she meets with Bob Schaefer, and it's actually him. And she meets another woman as well who was involved in writing the first one. I can't think of her name. It escapes me.
No.
And Bob's like, yeah, Wes is working on a script. We want to get you back. And at this point, I get the feeling that Heather Langenkamp isn't really working. But she's like, no, I'm having a bit of a hard time at the moment. No actress does that.
No. And it was like, whatever you want, we'll double it. We need you back. You are the main character in this script. He's basically saying to her, look, this is your chance to revitalize your career. I would take it if I was you.
Yeah, this is a blank checkbook. How much money do you want to come back? Because we are going to make an absolute fortune when you do.
Yeah, and you can see she's uncomfortable. She's like, what do you mean? I thought Freddie was dead and this was all done now. Why is Wes doing this again?
Yeah, and this is where it starts to get really meta. Is like, because the fans want Freddie back, which we still do. Please.
Yes, please. Properly, though. A decent Freddy, not like what you gave us recently.
Yeah, 2010. There is a Freddy coming. We'll talk about that later because it ties very nicely into this movie. I think it's Wolfman's Got Nards who plays Freddy. Oh, no, wait, it's Dave McRae. And that's an in-joke if you've listened to this show for quite a while.
Oh, I can't wait to see that guy this year at Love of Horror if we go.
Yeah, you know he's playing Freddy in that movie, don't you?
No, I didn't know that. That would be interesting. The Scottish Freddy Krueger.
That's who they've cast. That's who's playing it in Dylan's New Nightmare. Dave McRae is Freddy Krueger.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about Dylan's New Nightmare because Dylan's actually coming back to reprise his role as Dylan.
Yes, he is, but we'll talk about that later.
I think we pretty much just covered it.
Yeah, we have pretty much covered it. We'll touch on it later. Nancy goes to see Robert Englund to find out what's going on with the script and everything, and she's having nightmares. And Robert Englund in this is outstanding. I don't think he's like this in real life, but I love this Hollywood Robert Englund that he created for himself.
Yeah, he's like, hey, we should do lunch, babe. And just walks off. I was like, what a guy.
he really did like look at the people in Hollywood around him and went, I'm playing myself, but I'm not. I'm going to be that guy.
Yeah. He's got like them awkward, dorky sunglasses where they're like really small, round glasses and like blue tinted. And
yeah, they're like
basically Hollywood dick. The only thing he was missing was a ponytail in this.
Yeah, he's got like, if anyone watched wrestling in the 90s, he's got like those round Shawn Michaels style glasses.
Yeah.
And he's really like, hey, yeah, well, I don't really know what's going on with Wes' script, but we'll catch up soon, babe. We'll do lunch. It's like, what? Really? He's not like that. I've seen loads of clips of him in the real world. That is not Robert Englund.
Of course not. No, you have to feel he was hamming it up for his own entertainment more than anybody else's.
Yeah, I mean, from here, it starts to get quite dark quite quick. So she finds out that her husband is already working on the special effects of the new Nightmare movie.
I found this really, really odd as well. Like, I'm married. I wouldn't be able to keep something like this from my wife, regardless of the studio execs telling me not to. There was like, oh, we wanted it to be a surprise for her. But like, he lives with this woman day in, day out. She knows she's getting phone calls from some weird stalker pretending to be Freddy Krueger. And he knows she's having nightmares about Freddy Krueger. And he's secretly working on a new Nightmare on Elm Street film behind her back. And because Bob Shea said, don't tell your wife, he doesn't. I'm like, dude, you're a shitty husband.
Yeah, really bad husband. Because if you get caught, which he does, in this, he just gets a bit of a telling off. In real life, that would be the silent treatment for days.
Oh, yeah, he's sofa surfing for a couple of days, easy.
100%. What I like here, though, is he's off working on this, and this is where things start to take a really sinister turn, because Dylan starts to have his first interactions with Freddy Krueger, and Freddy's coming for him in his dreams, and he's got a dinosaur that protects him.
Rex.
Rex is cool, and I'm sure Toy Story nicked the name from this.
Oh, of course.
I'm sure they did.
I mean, I don't know. It's a T-Rex. I don't think... Is it? It is a T-Rex, isn't it?
It is a T-Rex, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty logical jump to call a toy dinosaur T-Rex Rex.
It is. I mean, he has a nightmare, and basically he's like, it's fine because Rex saved me. And then Rex has got like 4 slash marks through him.
Yes.
Heather Langenkamp freaks out. But again, this is where this whole nanny thing is strange, because the nanny comes in and she's like, oh, could you fix Rex? And like Dylan is clung onto the nanny like, please save me, and just leaves Heather Langenkamp sat in the bedroom.
Yeah, you can feel the serious disconnect from these characters, but it's not really fleshed out enough. Like, as observers, we're picking up on it and thinking it's weird, but it's not really touched upon because she still is his lifeline throughout this film in terms of when shit goes down, he calls for his mum and stuff like that. But you'd never really get that emotional connection between the two of them. Like, I was expecting some sort of story development where it turns out she's been like a drunk and neglected parent or something, and that's why he's obsessed with the nanny more than her. And then this was all going to be in her head at the end of it. I was like, oh, that would be a cool turn of events.
Yeah, I'd have liked that. And the one thing I thought was just bizarre, when she stitched up Rex, she used red thread on a green dinosaur, so it now looks like he has battle scars.
Yes. There's a lot of red and green thrown in throughout this film.
There's lots of really subtle meta nods that if you're watching it, you go, oh, they've just given Rex Freddy's jumper.
Yeah.
Oh, that's like things like Bob Shea says a couple of things and you're like, that's funny. That's a line from this. And there's all these little nods. And again, this is a little bit like we said about Deadpool 3. This movie is very much fan service.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you watch this and you've never seen New Nightmare before, but you are a massive Scream fan, go and watch New Nightmare, because this film will blow your fucking mind on how Scream centric this film is. The insistence of the phone call, the ringing of the phone being such a sort of tense moment. Every time the phone rings and then they pick it up and they're getting stalkery calls, but instead of it being Ghostface on the other end, it's Freddy Krueger on the other end. It is wild at how Scream this film is.
I still maintain that Wes Craven had a long-term plan of putting these two together.
That would have been really cool.
I still believe it. Based on New Nightmare and how meta it is, I could imagine had Wes not passed away, we would have got a Scream movie where the phone rings and Ghostface picks up the phone and it goes, welcome to my world, bitch. That's the only trailer they would have needed, and they would have filled every cinema in every country instantly.
You see, the thing is, people always talk about Ghostface as a villain. It's like, oh yeah, you should get Michael Myers fight Ghostface.
Which one?
Fight Ghost. Exactly. Who is Ghostface? He's nobody. And 9 times out of 10, they're usually rather fucking pathetic.
Yeah, and if you're going to get any Ghostface against any other horror villain, it's got to be Stu Marker, because he's the only one who survives.
Come on, I'm not doing this tonight. You lost your train of thought now, haven't you?
I have. I really have. And annoyingly, my soundboard has stopped working.
That's even better.
Oh no, it's back again. I've got it back. Hold on, bear with me.
We'll just pretend that never happened.
Yeah, it's back. Well, we won't edit that out because I don't do editing now. I've got a soundboard when it wants to work. It's after this meltdown that he goes to the park. She takes Dylan to the park. So Heather takes Dylan to the park and she meets up with John Saxon.
No, because
sorry.
Completely glossed over the fact that her husband dies.
Her husband dies, yeah, and her husband dies. Again, I find pulling Freddy into the real world, I find it a real stretch. And this is a problem I had with A Nightmare on Elm Street 2 as well. When Freddy's in the dream world, that works for me. He can do whatever the fuck he likes there. He's got full control over that. When you start bringing him into the real world, so like she rings her husband to say, look, Dylan's had a funny turn. I need you to come home straight away. So he jumps in his truck and he's driving back and he's drifting in and out of sleep. And Freddy attacks him in his dream and it causes him to crash the car. But the fact that that character's had no interaction with Freddy, he's had no nightmares about Freddy. I find it a stretch that Freddy would be able to influence him so strongly.
I mean, to be honest with you, I don't really think we can dive too deeply into the logic behind Freddy's ability because it's so all over the place with the entire franchise. And even more so in this film, which we'll get to in sort of the back half of it, because there's a few things I want to discuss. There's no consistency with the lore of Freddy Krueger of what he can and can't do. But
No.
You're right. If you were to base this on the original, all of them start by having nightmares. And
Yeah.
none of them want to go to sleep because they're scared of what's going to happen.
And that's
because
when
of the
they're
nightmare
weak.
they're having. And that's where they're weak. But in here, it's almost a case of, well, you're asleep now, so Freddy's going to get you. It's like you've never known Freddy Krueger or had any affiliation with him prior to this moment, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and it's a really odd take. And like, she gets a phone call, she gets the police turn up at her house, say, look, your husband's died in a terrible car crash. We need you to come and ID the body. And she goes off to the hospital and she goes in and she lifts the face down and she's like, oh yeah, that's him. So, oh no, I need to have another look. And she sees the 4 slashes down his chest. And then she does some terrible dramatic fall to the floor where she throws up. That's the only bit in her acting in this that's shocking.
Yeah, it's not great. This scene.
It's like back of the hand on the forehead. Oh, my husband.
Yeah.
This is where the doctor brings, so basically Dylan's there as well, and she notices there's some things not quite right with Dylan, and they admit Dylan onto the psych ward effectively.
Yeah, but you was on about the park before that. We missed the park bit.
Yeah, no, we're all over the place. I love no notes. It's great.
Yeah,
so
it's hard work.
Yeah, after the husband died, we're going to ignore everything we just said. After the husband died and she identified the body, there is a funeral. And at the funeral, Heather Langenkamp falls asleep and has a dream that the coffin drops into the floor. Dylan falls in the coffin. She goes in the coffin after Dylan, and this is where we get our first look at Freddy as he's dragging Dylan down.
Yes, really cool.
Really cool. And Freddy here is the best looking Freddy out of all of the movies, in my opinion.
My favourite in the entire franchise. But it's not until the hospital scene later on where we get him in his full glory, which when we get there, I'm going to gush like fuck. I'll save it.
Yeah.
But yeah, they fall in. And then something we haven't mentioned at this point yet as well is that there is a lot of earthquakes going on.
Yes.
So there just seems to be random earthquakes happening all over wherever this takes place. I don't think are we in Hollywood? We are in Hollywood,
yeah,
right?
We are. Yeah, we're right on the fault line. So there are always earthquakes, and when I get to facts, we'll get there in facts.
All right, okay. So I'm just assuming this was just a freak nature thing. So there's earthquakes constantly happening, which never really gets explained, to be honest.
No, it's it leaves it open to your interpretation to link it to Freddy. Freddy's causing the earthquakes is kind of where they're pointing you.
Yeah. So anyway, Heather Langenkamp wakes up at the funeral. She's got a cut on her head, and John Saxon picks her up and says, and she's screaming, Freddy, tucking Freddy. She's like, no, you just fell over in the earthquake.
Yeah.
So obviously she fell asleep on the chair. The earthquake happened and knocked her over.
Yeah, and great acting from John Saxon because he's looking at her going, I really care about you, but right now, I think you're a fucking lunatic.
Yeah. And the inclusion of John Saxon in this is just fucking weird. Like, I get why they would want to bring him back for this, but these are real world characters. And she speaks to John Saxon like he's her real world dad.
Yeah.
And he's at her husband's funeral. It's like, you guys were in like one movie together 40 years ago.
Yeah, the whole real world thing is very much a case of where's when I want all of these characters. They've all become friends. They're the best friends that anyone's ever had, and they're all together all the time. That's how this works.
I mean, with the way cons are and stuff like that, and by cons I mean like Comic Cons and things like that, I imagine they do interact quite regularly throughout their life. But to the point where he's at Heather's husband's funeral, I mean, this is a small funeral based on what we see on the film. There's like 12 people there. John Saxon's one of them.
Yeah, and Robert
Englund.
And where's Craven? and Bob Shea.
And I'm just like, oh, guys, like,
Yeah,
you could have put a little bit more thought into this.
So, like, the only people who are like even remotely family, you've got Heather and Dylan and the nanny. Everyone else is the cast of a Nightmare on Elm Street movies.
No, I was half expecting Johnny Depp to just appear on the back row.
I was waiting for Kincaid to come over and go, "Don't you worry, Heather, we're going to get him." Or Tara, I dressed today and I'm dressed bad and dangerous.
Oh, it wouldn't have been out of place, so I'll be honest with you.
No, I'd have taken it. And again, the fan service, I'd have applauded it, gone, well done, Wes. Well done. That's exactly what I needed here. The fucking wizard master rocking up. Casting spells into the grave to put Freddy back down.
Part of me kind of wants to see that version of it now.
Yeah. But anyway, grieving child, grieving parent, she takes Dylan to the park. And that is the most unsafe park thing I've ever seen. So there's a big rocket in this park that Dylan goes up this little spiral staircase, and like all parks, it's all enclosed. When you get to the very top of this, which is about 30 foot up, it's got a little window that you can open that is big enough to fit a grown adult through.
Yeah.
And she sat on the bench talking to John Saxon, and Dylan climbs out and then onto the top of this rocket where he stands there like Christ the Redeemer in Brazil. And this is where John Saxon and Langenkamp spot him, go running over, and he throws himself off the top. Yeah. And it's very sad. He's like, I wanted them to take me to Daddy, but they wouldn't. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's heart-wrenching, isn't it?
It's like that. You've got a bit too dark now. Whereas I love a horror movie and I love a bit of slasher, but don't give the kid that sort of trauma.
No. And at this point, is this where she now goes to see Wes?
Yes.
And to talk about the script. And I just want to say, Wes, I know you're dead now, so R.I.P., sir. But you should have stayed behind the camera, because he is the most wooden thing I've ever seen on a screen in my entire life.
Why, hello, Heather. Nice of you to come and see me. Line.
It is so awkward, this entire interaction, when he's trying to tell this dramatic story about how the script he's telling in his dream is translating to real world events, and he's trying to be like this mystery crypt keeper about it. And he's like, the only person who can stop him, Heather, is you. You have to play Nancy one more time. He kind of gives a little bit of context about how, which is a logical bit of context, which is that Freddy Krueger is a djinn, and then he was trapped in the movie universe, and now the movies are finished. He's got nowhere he can go or be, so he needs to escape into the real world. And I was like, wow, that's fucking awesome. That's such a cool idea.
Yeah, it's a really clever concept that there's this sort of ever-living evil that wants to be in the real world, and by people telling stories about this evil in whatever form they deem to, that traps him within that world. So the Nightmare on Elm Street movies effectively acted as a prison for him.
Yes.
And now they're all over and the hype's all died down. He's no longer trapped there. He's free, and he wants now to break out again. So Wes's logic is the only way to stop him is to make another movie.
Yeah.
It's bonkers.
But it kind of works and makes sense.
Yeah,
surprisingly,
it does.
Because on paper, this sounds like complete and utter bollocks. But because you have such character development early on, and they build this world so well, by the time we get to this ridiculous analogy of what's actually happening, kind of makes perfect sense. And you put it all together, you're like, oh, that's really, really clever.
Yeah.
But actually, it's probably not.
No, it's really clever, but it's absolute garbage. Well done, Wes. You fed it to us and we've gone, thank you.
Yeah. And I think that's the whole beauty of this film, is that it takes such risks with a popular franchise that it's refreshing to see. Like, it's not just rinse and repeat. It tries to go in a completely different direction without being a remake or without being... And I think it's a really refreshing idea to do something like this, and I can't applaud this film enough for that side of it.
Yeah. And they mimicked exactly this when they done Scream 3.
Did they?
Yeah, Scream 3 is a film. They're on a film set filming a...
Oh, of course, yes.
So
but not as clever as this, though.
No, there's nothing clever about Scream 3 at all. Nothing whatsoever. The only clever thing about Scream 3 was the end credits where it was all over, and I had to stomach that Roman Bridger was the killer.
Yeah. She should have shot him in the head straight away. Saved us all the last 30 minutes of that film.
Exactly. You mean where she gets shot and then she fakes her death? Yeah, we could have
The
done
whole bulletproof vest thing. She wasn't wearing a bulletproof vest up until the point she had to reveal that she had a bulletproof vest on.
Yeah, you like me and like most red-blooded men were quite happy watching the boobies bouncing, and under a bulletproof vest, they don't do that.
I like the way that 90% of the people that realised that wasn't a valid plot twist were men.
Yeah. We went, that's not right.
I've just spent the last 10 minutes knowing that that's not right.
Yeah, I'm 100% convinced that was not on a minute ago. Dylan ends up in the hospital. So I can't remember why she goes back to the hospital, but she goes back to the hospital with Dylan. And this is where the worst doctor/nurse in the world decides that Dylan is showing signs of sleep deprivation and early signs of some sort of schizophrenia. So she admits him to the hospital.
I think she kind of admits him based on the scatty behaviour of Langenkamp. She's been wildly erratic, and she's concerned that her behaviour is responsible for Dylan's behaviour. She thinks that she's the reason why he won't go to sleep, because he's scared of her behaviour and what she's doing, and he doesn't want to go to sleep.
Yeah, and I think that's a logical leap for any health professional looking at those two. I'd be admitting Dylan. I'd probably be admitting Heather as well.
Yeah, so they try and keep him in. One of the best things about this scene is that they give him the sleeping pill. He's like, oh, this is just going to put you to sleep. Don't you worry. He takes it in his mouth and reveals that he's kept it out and sticks it under his pillow, but then immediately goes to sleep anyway.
Yeah, and this is where he's insistent that he needs Rex to protect him.
Mm-hmm.
And Heather's like, well, look, I'm going to go and get Rex. And there's this whole thing where she sits down with the nanny. She's like, look, whatever happens, don't let him fall asleep till I'm back and I've got Rex here.
Yes.
And if I'm the nanny, I'm going, he's tired. I'm going to let him sleep because you seem massively unhinged right now. Yeah.
And I don't know why she's buying into this fantasy that Langenkamp's telling her, because she sounds like she is smoking methadone.
Yeah. And the nurses come in and they're like, oh, we're just going to give him a quick sedative. And you get this nurse who's drawing the sedative, and the nanny's like, you are fucking not, I'm telling you now. And she punches her, proper attacks her to try and stop her. And the other nurse has already walked past her and has got another syringe. Is like, it's all done now. He's going to go to sleep.
Yes. Now, this is where I start getting slightly confused, because Dylan is trying to fall asleep and she's slapping him, trying to keep him awake. Wake up, Dylan, wake up, Dylan. Eventually he nods off, but then he's awake. So I'm assuming we're now in Dylan's dream.
And he can see Freddy stood behind the nanny.
Right. So Freddy is there. And also, by the way, this reveal of Freddy Krueger in this is just fucking epic. It's like, imagine the fisherman from I Know What You Did Last Summer, but Freddy Krueger. His get-up is amazing.
Yeah.
He's got the trilby hat on. It's a different colour now. It's a lot dark. It's a green trilby, isn't it?
So dark green. He's got a dark green, long, full-length trench coat.
Yeah, and he's got his jumpers now got a polo sort of turtleneck to it, and the prosthetics on his face are the most rubbery we've ever seen Freddy look, but it looks good.
Yeah.
One of my biggest gripes with the Freddy Krueger prosthetics throughout the entire franchise is that in 1 and 2, he looks incredible. He's very dark. He's very sort of oozy and slimy. But then he becomes this comedic, rubbery Freddy from that point on.
Yeah.
This is extremely rubbery, but such a dark take on the character, and his makeup looks so cool because of it.
Yeah, and he's really sinister. But like you say, I don't understand how what happens next happens, because he's in Dylan's dream. But
he kills the babysitter.
Yeah, and the way he kills the babysitter, this is the best kill in this movie, arguably the best kill in the franchise. It's a rehash of the revolving room we see in the original, in part 1. But this time you see her going up the wall and you don't see Freddy there, and then you see it through Dylan's eyes, where you can actually see Freddy dragging her and cutting her. And this is when you watch that, you then put that same concept into the first one, and you can envisage how Freddy done that kill. It's so creative.
And you see him like walking across the ceiling and dragging her and pinning her there, and he says a line like, "Hey Dylan, do you want to play a game? Skin the cat."
Yeah,
and like, it's fucking awesome, man. It's a really, really cool scene. The logic of it and the lore in terms of Freddy makes absolutely zero sense, but in terms of a cool kill scene, it looks great.
Yeah, it looks really, really, really good. And Dylan just fucking ups and leaves.
Yeah.
Dylan
See, the thing is, something's just dawned on me really quickly then. It's like, we're basing this on Freddy Krueger lore, but this isn't actually really Freddy Krueger, is it? I suppose.
No, it's not. It's a demon, so the law all changes. So I guess he can do whatever the hell he likes.
Whatever suits him in this film, because that was one of my biggest gripes with the final act, which we'll get to again when we get there. But I suppose if we're criticizing it based on what we understand from the Nightmare on Elm Street films, this isn't necessarily the same character. So can he bend the rules to his will depending on what him as a djinn can do? I don't know. I need more context on this.
So what you're saying is Wes Craven's an incredibly clever writer because he wrote himself out of a hole that he definitely had.
Pretty much, yeah. I don't know. But again, it's just, no, because none of the Freddy films have any logic or consistency with his lore. So I suppose it's just...
But Wes wrote the lore and then everyone else just bastardized it from there on to do what they wanted. And this was Wes coming back, right, we can ignore all of that. I'm just going to start again. I'm going to start fresh lore. I'm going to do my whole new thing. And it's kind of Freddy, but not.
Yeah. I just think so. It's so hard as fan bases to have something that you believe in and have spent sort of 6 movies basing your idea of a character around to have it all flipped on its head. And for me watching it, I was just like, well, that doesn't seem right. He shouldn't be able to do that. But again, it's not the same character, is it? I don't know.
No,
I'm so confused by it all.
And at least it's only 6 movies, not like 26 movies like the Halloween franchise.
Man, it was only 8 before Rob Zombie got his hands on it.
Yeah, but it was in a state by the time Rob got to it.
Yeah, okay.
Dylan goes for a wander. Heather gets back to the hospital and she's screaming at the nurse, "Where's Dylan?" She's like, "He's sedated. He can't have gone anywhere." Heather's like, "You fucking idiot. He sleepwalks." Yes. And she's like, shit.
He can go wherever he wants when he's asleep.
Yeah, he can go wherever he likes. And we get this really cool scene on the freeway. I really like this, where Dylan's crossing the freeway. He's fast asleep. And Heather's trying to get to him, and we get Cloud Freddy.
The first time you see Cloud Freddy, I think it's the original Freddy makeup.
Oh, okay.
I've rewound it a couple of times now, and if you know the answer to this, please correct me if I'm wrong. But I'm pretty sure when he first pops up out of the clouds, when you see him, I'm sure he's in Krueger makeup, like proper Robert Englund, Nightmare on Elm Street from 3 onwards Krueger makeup. The kind of stuff where he jumps out from behind the set on the interview.
Yeah.
I might be wrong. It's a dark scene. It's hard to tell, but it certainly didn't look like the new demonized Freddy that we get in this.
No, it doesn't. I like the fact that he's lifting Dylan up with his claw because he's ginormous. He's a cloud. And Heather's trying to save him. And this whole sequence, I think, is great. I really enjoy this sequence. It's very clever. It shows you kind of the scope of Freddy's powers, how far his reach is and what he's capable of doing in the real world. That doesn't just affect Dylan, who's asleep, but affects the 50 cars on the freeway as well.
Yeah, because I didn't understand why he was trying to save Dylan so badly. Why is Dylan so pivotal to him? Because it's never really explained. Like if there was like, oh, Dylan needs to come to your Freddy lair and then you need to do this ritual in order for you to become a real world entity. But none of that's ever explained. We just know that he's trying to prevent Dylan from getting killed on the freeway.
Yeah, and it leads them sort of back to the house where they both end up in a dream world. So Dylan's asleep, Dylan's in the dream world, Freddy has Dylan, and Heather's she looks at the script, or she's reciting things that Wes told her. It's like, the only way I can get there is to be with him. And then she's like, oh shit, I just need to take loads of sleeping pills and go get him.
Yeah. One thing I just want to touch on that we just glossed over really quickly is that she goes back to the house to get Dylan, and John Saxon arrives at the house. And we get this really weird, awkward interchange where
he becomes her
reality
dad.
it's almost just flipped on its head, his reality, and he's no longer John Saxon, he's Nancy's dad. He's referring to her as Nancy. She's like, why do you keep calling me Nancy? And then she looks down and he's got his police badge and he gets in the police car from the original. And then the next scene cuts and she's in her nightgown that she wore in the original Nightmare on Elm Street movie. And I'm like, what the fucking hell is going on? I do not understand. But one of the best scenes in the entire film is where Freddy rises up from the mattress in Dylan's bedroom and then he just cuts through it and it just looks so cool.
Yeah,
so good.
Again, that's a rehash of when he comes through the wall in the first one. This is very much everything we liked from the first one. Wes knew we liked, and he gave us that again, but in a new way.
Yeah, and he does a fantastic job of doing it.
Yeah, he
really
definitely does. Earlier in the movie, Heather read Dylan a bedtime story, which was Hansel and Gretel. And as she was reading it, I went, that's really important because you're making a big point of reading Hansel and Gretel.
Yes.
When we get to this bit now and you've got Freddy's down in the basement and he's chasing Dylan while Heather's trying to get to him and he chases Dylan into a furnace, I just went, oh. I was really like, oh, I know where this is going. Yeah. And like Freddy kind of gets stuck and Heather's there and she gets him out the side and then they push him in and close the door and Freddy dies. I'm like, oh,
yeah,
he deserved a better end than fucking ripping off Hansel and Gretel.
I think so. But I mean, this final showdown for me is absolute perfection. I love the set design of the dream world. I like that they've got like all this red and green moss everywhere. Everything is red and green tones throughout. It's like an underground mausoleum. It just looks fantastic. There's water everywhere. There's fire everywhere. And we get this final showdown between Nancy or Heather, whichever she is at this moment in time. It's really unclear. And it's really cool. I mean, there's some wonky practical effects. At one point, Dylan's trapped inside the furnace and
Freddy tries to eat him.
And his head just like opens up massively. And then Dylan manages to get away, but then the next scene, he's got this giant long tongue coming out from the furnace, which he wraps around Heather's face. And it was all really cheesy, I'm going to be honest with you. Considering how frightening and intimidating Freddy was up until this point, I just think it kind of lost its way in this final battle sequence. But everything around them looks great. The set design's fantastic. Freddy looks great, but then they just kill it with this underwhelming sort of cheesiness that we kind of got from 5 and 6, and it just didn't belong here, in my opinion.
But when Freddy goes to eat him, that was the perfect opportunity to bring back the Freddy snake and have his head morph into that snake that he was before. But they didn't do it. They just done this kind of weird fucking elongated jaw, which I have to say, if you pause that scene and you were to colour in his mouth and his eyes black, which are both elongated, looks like the Scream mask, and I'm going to do that as one of the posts I do when we release this episode.
That'd be cool. I look forward to seeing
it. It does look like Ghostface because I paused it and went, shit, everything come from this movie.
Another of my gripes that I'm going to touch on real quickly about this final scene. I've kind of already answered it myself and answered my own argument here, but we're in the dream world, right?
Yeah.
Freddy gets stabbed. He gets damage. He's limping about in pain. In previous entities in the dream world, he cuts off limbs and shit and laughs at people and it just grows back immediately. Here he's just a man just taking serious damage from a tiny little dagger, and it's like, what the fuck have you done to this guy? Why? This could have been so much cooler and so much more grander in scope, but it just felt really condensed and underwhelming for me.
Yeah, there needed to be a point where they dragged him back into the real world and then done all this shit to him.
Exactly. Yeah, that would have made more sense to me. They'd have been like, yeah, of course, now he's just a normal guy, so he can...
But I suppose
again,
the problem with that is he's not Freddy, and if you bring him into the real world, that's kind of where he wants to be.
Yeah, of course.
You've given him what he wants. He's going, oh, brilliant, thanks, I don't need to kill you now, bye.
Yeah. I'll save it for my roundup, but I have an idea of what they should have done with this, which would have made it better, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've got a couple of things they should have done with this that I think would have drastically improved it. Freddy dies. Heather and her son live happily ever after, sit on the bed and start to read a story. Because that's what you do after you just survived a vicious serial killing demon.
Well, they don't read a story. They've got the script for New Nightmare, and they read it and follow it, and they read the closing lines of the movie.
Tell
And
me
then
that's a story?
Yeah, but Dylan makes them go back and they start to read the entire thing again. I was like, do you know what happens when you read this script? Like, why would you want to do that again?
I guess that's the whole thing of keeping him trapped, because they're keeping that story alive by keep telling it.
Of course. I didn't pick up on that. That makes it seem so much better now.
And the little note from Wes in the front cover. Thanks for playing Nancy one more time.
Yeah, that was cool. I hope she gets to keep that script.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be worth a lot of money to her.
Yeah. I wonder if it was actually the script or it was just loads of blank pages bound together.
I imagine that was probably the script.
I'd like to think so.
I think that would, if I would like to envision this in a certain way, I think that's probably actually her script that they sent her when the film was finished writing. And he probably wrote at the end of it, cheers, thanks for playing that. And they just probably incorporated it into the film at the end.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, that's what happened. You heard it here first. We're going to have lots of things to say in our roundup. But before we do that...
Zoinks! 3-word reviews, man!
3-word reviews are just going mad at the moment. And thank you so much for everyone who's giving 3-word reviews. They are like non-fucking stop every time we do them. BJ Mumbo, who's a YouTuber, really cool YouTube channel. My Kind of Freddy. We've got Macabre Movies and Makeup, who's a cosplay account, my absolute favourite. Over on Twitter, Lawrence Dagstein, who's an author, Return to Greatness. Let's Talk Horror Channel, BP, who's been on this show. I've been on his show. Great podcast. Definitely very underrated. We've got Dewey Podmonster, who again has got a great podcast. Love the hat. This guy's done a couple now, and I still can't pronounce his account. I'm going to try. Bearded Amoeba, who's a film buff. Craven's Triumphant Return. Then we've got on TikTok, we've got Painted Lady, who's a mixed fandom account. Fun, cheesy, iconic. Scourge 187, who their account's private, no idea what they do. Meta Before Meta. And then finally, we've got the queen of TikTok herself, Lady Crisis. It's scary again.
Yeah, kind of. The best it's been since the beginning.
In comparison to 3 onwards, it is scary again.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, that's enough 3-word reviews. I think it's time we do something else.
Recommended account of the week.
I'm half tempted to release all our episodes on YouTube just so people can see you dance each week.
You should just collect them all together and just do a montage.
I might have to start doing that because every week your dance is different. It's like you rehearse.
I know, but each week the music seems to change.
No, it doesn't. It's the same every week.
Oh, okay. In my head, it changes. I was just grooving to the Hey Arnold theme then.
Yeah.
So this week's recommended account is a twofer this week. You get 2 for the price of 1, and both have been previous guests of the show, and both have actually been previous recommended accounts of the show.
Okay.
So you have Beck from This Girl Loves Horror on Instagram, and you have Jay from Lumberjay Reviews. The reason I'm recommending both these accounts this week is because this coming Friday, the 25th of August, these 2 accounts are teaming up to start their very first live Fridays. They're going to be doing a live stream on Instagram where they're going to do a review of a movie, and this first episode is going to feature Willy's Wonderland, I believe. Yes. Unfortunately, me and Scott record on a Friday, so we won't be able to watch it live, but if you release it, we will check it out the next day. Or just change your whole entire plans around me and Scott so we can watch on a Saturday or a Thursday.
I'm really excited as well. Do you know what they've called their lives?
No, I don't know. What is it?
The Girl and the Gay.
Oh, brilliant.
Absolutely amazing.
I think both of these 2 characters are fantastic in their own individual rights, and I think together this is going to be an incredible show. So if you are a fan of us the chances are you will probably be a big fan of these two as well. I think they're going to do really well with this, and I want everybody to get behind them and give them as much support as you can. Please check out their first live episode. Let them know you enjoyed it so they continue making more and keep doing it monthly, weekly, fortnightly, however they decide to do it moving forward. These guys have been nothing but supportive of me and Scott throughout the course of our doing the podcast, or since they've joined listening to us. So I think it's only fair that we try and give them as much push and shove as we can. So please go check them out, whether you follow This Girl Loves Horror on Instagram or whether you follow Lumberjack Reviews on Instagram, or go and follow them both. Either way, you'll be able to find them this Friday, the 25th of August, on Instagram for their very first live movie review.
Yeah, and if you're new to the show and you don't know who these two are and you don't follow them or anything like that, and you want to know a little bit about them, go back and listen to... Oh, sorry, I'm dying.
You all right there, mate?
Yeah, I'm okay. Go back and listen to the Ready or Not episode where This Girl Loves Horror joined us, or go back and listen to Killer Condom and hear Jay suffer for a long period of time.
I fucking love that movie.
Yeah, Jay did not. But go and listen to those two episodes, and that will give you a good insight as to who these two are and what they're going to bring you, because they are going to absolutely nail this.
Yes, definitely.
Games are now a weekly thing. Sometimes I try to make them relevant to the movies. Other times, not so much. Today is one of those times where it's not relevant to the movie whatsoever. We're going to play a game of two truths and one lie. I'm sure you all know what this game is. I'm going to tell Mark two things about me that are true, one of which is a lie. And all Mark needs to do is tell you, or tell me, which one of those three things is a lie.
Right, okay.
So
I think I know you well enough now. In fact, actually, no, you have a strange, sordid past.
Lisa got it wrong.
Okay, well, that doesn't bode well for me then.
So we'll start off with the first story. So I once got so drunk that I woke up in a hotel on the staircase. I was woken up by a member of staff who led me and escorted me back to my room. When I opened the door, I was confronted with a full-length mirror, and I was absolutely stark, bald, naked. And then I closed the door and went to bed, very embarrassed, checking out the next day under the cover of sunglasses and a hat. So that's the first story. The second story is, on holiday, I once climbed into bed with my mother-in-law at the time, thinking it was my wife, and started rubbing against her and groping her chest region, only to find out that it wasn't my wife, and it was very funny and very uncomfortable, as was the rest of the holiday. The third story, when I was younger, I fell out of bed. Now, I'd broken my bed, being a young man and doing things that young men do on beds.
Stallion.
Yeah, so my bed was a mattress on the floor at the time. I rolled out of this mattress, and the 4-inch fall to the floor managed to break my wrist in 3 places, and I spent the next 8 weeks in a plaster cast. Now, which one of those 3 do you think is a lie? You can ask for more information on any of these, and I can elaborate more on what happened.
Right, okay. So the first one, I know that you were a holiday rep in your younger years. So that one is very, very plausible to me. The last one about you being Mr. Glass, I'm not too sure.
The first one happened at a hotel in the UK. So
right, okay. Can you give me some context on what you were doing that evening? Why were you there?
So we were working away. It was when I was still on the tools. We were working away. I'd been out. We'd finished on the Friday, sort of 2:00. And we all done our thing we all do when we work away. We rang our wives and girlfriends and went, the job's overrun. We're going to have to work like late tonight. We'll be back at like 2:00 on the Saturday. And then we all went out on the piss. I crawled in at some ridiculous time, went to bed. At some point in the evening, I woke up very drunk and decided I wanted to get more alcohol and neglected to get dressed as I left the room. And at some point, I think I may have fell and passed out on the stairs, where I was later found and returned to my room.
Yeah, you see, the thing about that, though, if we did the Love of Horror this year and I got absolutely obliterated and you were drinking the same amount as me, but even at 2 o'clock in the morning, you still seem perfectly sober. And then was up at like 6 o'clock the next morning watching Tremors 4, where I was like dead inside myself.
Yeah.
And I could barely speak and barely walk. So I don't know if that fits based on how much I know you can handle your drink. The mother-in-law one, I think, is definitely true. I think that one's a definite, and I'm just torn between how you could possibly shatter your wrist in 3 places falling off a ground mattress.
Six. I broke it in 6 separate places when I rolled off 4 inches onto the floor.
Like, how could you possibly even do that? Was you like obese at some point in your life?
I was much heavier at this time in my life.
Were you under the influence of drugs by any chance when you did this naked walk of shame?
No.
Because that's the kind of thing ketamine does to you.
No, I wasn't. It was just purely alcohol.
Right, okay. I'm going to say the mattress one is a lie.
Okay, the mattress one is 100% the truth.
How the fuck did you do that?
I genuinely have no idea. So I rolled over in my sleep. I rolled off the bed onto I bent my wrist backwards. So if you imagine doing like a swan shape with your hand, and then
Please do that again.
And then I rolled all of my weight onto it, and the pain of that woke me up. I went and told my mum, because I lived with my mum at the time, and my mum grabbed my arm. My mum grabbed my arm and shook my arm, but there's nothing wrong with you. I then insisted that I had to go to the hospital. This is when I was a lot younger. I was like 15 when this happened.
Oh, I just called you a loser for living with your mum, thinking you were like 36.
My mum took me up to the hospital where I was x-rayed and I'd broken it in 6 places.
Wow.
Number one, the hotel nakedness, that is the truth.
Man, I would love to see you that drunk.
I was honestly, like the following morning when I checked out, because obviously that's the sort of thing that person who worked the night, when the morning shift come in, he went, "You will never believe what happened last night." The guy in this room, when he checks out, and I literally come down and I'd had room service as well because we'd been there for a couple of weeks. So I actually had to pay for my room service, and I could see the staff all kind of going,
oh man, there is some CCTV footage floating about of that I need to get hold of.
The one that's a lie is, of course, I never groped my mother-in-law, because that would be very, very wrong.
It's a weird judge of character that I immediately assumed that one was real.
Yeah, terrible. No, that didn't happen. Anyway, that's our game this week.
Facts.
The events of this movie all revolve around Heather Langenkamp having a stalker, is effectively the true essence of this. She did have a stalker just before this movie was made. When Wes was writing the script, he spoke to Heather and asked if he could include it in the storyline, because she would be able to genuinely act how that felt.
And I think she does. She does a phenomenal job in this film. So, yeah, that's plausible that she would be able to draw emotion from our own real-world experiences in this.
Yeah. Wes Craven wanted to ask Johnny Depp, but he didn't have the guts. He wanted him to be there for the funeral scene. He never asked him, because Johnny Depp had become a megastar at this point. He later met up with Johnny Depp. They met somewhere and they were having drinks, and he asked Johnny Depp if he'd have done it. And Johnny Depp informed him that he was actually in the area at the time and he'd have done it for nothing because he owes everything to Wes Craven.
That's disappointing that he didn't then.
Devastated. Could you imagine Wes must have gone, fuck.
But we're already mocking that funeral scene anyway. Can you imagine if Johnny Depp that was his only bit in the film as well? He was just there for the funeral.
Yeah, that's the only bit Wes wanted for, was just the funeral scene.
Because in the original, don't him and Nancy actually only share like 2 or 3 scenes?
Yeah, they share hardly any screen time together at all.
That would be so wild.
This is Robert Englund's favourite movie in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. It's his favourite because he loves the look of Freddy and he loves the concept that Freddy is a real thing.
Yeah.
This is kind of the direction Robert Englund wanted them to continue. And he would often lobby Wes to say, let's do another movie along these lines.
Yeah. I would have taken another one of these.
Yeah, 100%. Before making the movie, Wes Craven sat down on his own at his home and he watched all of the Nightmare on Elm Street films back to back. He said that he couldn't follow what was going on from the second A Nightmare on Elm Street ended and the second one began. So he decided that everything after his original masterpiece was absolute trash and he was going to neglect and ignore it.
Right. So he's done a David Gordon Green then. So has he officially stated that this is a direct sequel to part one then?
No, this is not. It's linked in the fact that the movies were made, but it's not a sequel. It's a movie that effectively run alongside the other movies.
Yeah, no, of course. But what I mean is like, is he neglecting everything up until this point? Like, is he saying
No. He's saying
the only one that exists in this universe is Nightmare on Elm Street 1, or is he saying all the rest of them exist?
He's saying all the others exist, but he was saying that he initially set out to write a sequel, but when he sat and watched them all, he's like, how the fuck do I sequel that? How do I sequel that mess? What do I do with that?
Yeah. And you wouldn't want to as well, either, being the one that was the bookend of all of these films.
Yeah. Because everyone would just do what they do now. They'd watch 1 and this one and 3.
Yeah. And 2.
Mm.
Why? I love 2.
Winona Ryder and Drew Barrymore were both approached to play the nanny, to play Julie. Neither of them could do it. And Wes Craven was so insistent that he would get Drew Barrymore in a movie that he signed her for screen when he done this movie. When she couldn't do this, he signed her for screen then.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
And she then couldn't do that.
Exactly. But yeah, he'd agreed with her that she would do something in Scream. She's like, yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah. Because wasn't she originally supposed to be Neve Campbell's role?
Yes. Yeah, she was originally meant to be Sidney Prescott.
Yeah.
And I hot take, I think she would have done a better job.
Ooh, no. Nah. I don't know. I'm basing that now knowing the career she's had since... because what did she come up? She came off the back of Batman and Robin, I think, into Scream, didn't she? So she went massive.
Yeah.
So maybe.
The earthquakes in this. So this film was filmed about a month and a half, 2 months before there was a massive earthquake in Los Angeles. What they done is they then went, oh shit, we can actually get real earthquake footage now. So he called all the cast back and they went and filmed more scenes, like showing the damage that it caused. So like scenes when they're driving through, that was all filmed after they'd finished the movie because they had a real earthquake and he wanted to incorporate that in to the story.
That makes sense.
This film is the original concept design for Freddy Krueger. This is how Wes Craven always envisaged him, how he always wanted him. But just before his death, he said he regretted changing him to this.
In terms of
appearance.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he this is how he always wanted Freddy to look. And then after he'd done it, he regretted doing it. And he basically said, this is the reason that Ghostface mask never changed, because there's no need to fix what isn't broken.
Yeah, but it's not the same Freddy we get. Like, Freddy 1 and 2 are great. Like, I'm not talking about the movies. I'm just talking about the look of Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
But Freddy Krueger in 3, 4, 5, and 6 is a different Freddy Krueger to what it is in part 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Like, substantially, there is no about it. They are very contrasting looking characters.
I'm just telling you what Wes said. It's not my fault.
Yeah. Fuck you, Wes. You know nothing.
I was not expecting many 10-word takedowns this week. We got more than I thought. So it's time for 10-word takedown. Are you ready?
Always ready.
Okay, so you do 1, 2, 3, and then say it.
No, right. So 1, 2, 3, go.
Say it. Yes. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
10-word takedown.
For fuck's sake.
Fucking hell.
Anyway, we also got lots of people who refused, actually commented to say that they refused to give a 10-word takedown. Those people include Wednesday Widen Horror, One Enthusiastic Horror Fan, BJ Mumbo, Creature Pod. We also had Christopher Warman on Threads, who stuck up for this movie, saying this is arguably the best Nightmare on Elm Street movie. Who in their right mind could take this down? So all of these people refused. But not everyone was nice. Over on Twitter, Dewey Podmonster Santa's elf pissed in this movie. On Instagram, we've got Nate Mayer, who's an author. Bland cash in to keep the IP, nothing more. We've got Official El Padre, who's a private account. New or old, this franchise is a heap of dung. Chainsaw Chicken Barbecue, worst child actor of the 90s in mediocre meta.
I don't know what everyone's beefing on Dylan for. I thought he was quite cool in this.
I'm not a big fan.
Is he that bad? Do I need to watch this again?
I just don't think he's that great. It's almost like they said to him, go watch The Shining, be that kid.
Yeah. No, yeah, there's definitely an element of that in it, but I don't know. I didn't mind him at all in this.
Zombie Turtle Draws, who's a cartoonist. Demon Freddy wears edgy green trench coat. Lame.
The look of him's the best in the franchise.
Over on Slasher, Sackhead, who's a horror account. Talk about a piece of shit cash grab attempt. He then went on to add, in brackets, by the way, I really enjoyed this entry, even though it wasn't that great. I just felt I needed to be involved.
It's always nice to be involved.
Yeah. Thank you for everyone who gave 10 Word Takedown and to everyone who defended this movie. You righteous souls, you. I'm going to let you give your roundup on this first. You can say what you've got to say.
Okie dokie.
Karaoke.
It's going to be nice. It's going to be quite a conflicting. I'm going to start that again. It's going to be quite a contrasting opinions to give on this movie because there are so many elements about it that I absolutely adore and love. I think the concept alone is truly fantastic. The way that he combines the meta with the real world elements and the tie-ins to all the stuff from the original movie. I mean, the stuff that we didn't even touch upon, such as Nancy going up the staircase in the lair and it's sinking like the carpet in the original. Just little nods and stuff like that all the way throughout were really, really nice. I think Langdon Camp does a fantastic job. As you mentioned, Scott, I think this is probably one of the best performances she's given in her entire career. Robert Englund's great. John Saxon's cool in this. The look of Freddy for me is the coolest Freddy over the course of all, what are we, is it seven films?
Yeah.
I think he looks absolutely phenomenal. I would have taken this Freddy in every film.
Yeah.
Personally. I think he would have looked cool as shit in some of the other ones dressed like this. I don't think this look would have maybe worked with the humour side of him that we got in the later films, but for this side of his character, I think it really works. The stuff that kind of let it down for me is the direction and cinematography that comes early on in this film is pretty piss poor for such a highly valued property. I think it looks like a Lifetime movie, a made-for-TV sci-fi film. And the overall quality of its production is just pretty piss poor. Wes Craven in front of the camera is not good and not convincing in any way. I think there is too much trust in people like Wes and Bob Shea to come on and do their bit parts that just kind of compromised a lot of the impactful scenes that were necessary. I would have liked to have just seen somebody else play them, if I'm honest with you. The score is particularly underwhelming in comparison to a lot of the other films in the franchise. This one, again, it just feels like some sort of generic score. There's no memorable aspects about it. And my eye is completely itching the hell out of me, and I cannot concentrate on what I'm saying. 1 second.
And for everyone who can't see Mark just has like his finger as far into his eye socket as it can get. It's one step away from Grabby Myers in Halloween 4.
Right, I'm back on track.
You sure?
So yeah, I'm back on track. Right, so there's a few things about this that I've just got a patch now. There's a few things about this that I would have liked to have seen done differently. I think there is so much time spent developing the characters early on, such as this New World Nancy and her husband and their kid, and bringing in Saxon and Kruger and all the rest of it to establish the world that they're living in. And I like this, don't get me wrong. I think it's very well fleshed out, but this could have all been condensed massively by at least 30 minutes. Like, it's a good hour and 10 minutes before we even get to the real side of Freddy Krueger. And I think we should have spent those other 30 minutes focusing more on the Freddy character, because we're all led to believe that this is Freddy Krueger, this is a Nightmare on Elm Street Freddy, but then the lore behind his character is so wildly different to anything that we've seen before, and we get no reasoning or justification as to why he is the way he is or what he's doing, other than a few throwaway comments from Wes about 40 minutes into the film. So I think that was a big misstep in this movie. I think we could have had some form of flashback sequence, or I don't know, just you could have had it's a djinn, he's obviously thousands of years old. We could have had a 5-minute scene of them going back to ancient days to
and showing all the movies he's been trapped in, or all the stories he's been
just
trapped
something
in.
as brief as that, or even just going back even further than that and just showing how he came to be trapped in his original form and how it came to be into these films. And I just feel like Freddy Krueger is the selling point of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. We are 7 films in, and we spend an hour and 10 minutes building around characters that, let's be honest, yes, it's nice to see them back on screen, but it's not really what we're here to see.
No, I agree.
But I think it's a strong side of the film. It's just a misstep to leave so much other stuff that's more important out of this. Once we get past that and we get to the hospital scenes later on, this film really does kick it up a gear. I think it's absolutely fantastic. The set design is great. Freddy's back on form. We get some really cool kill sequences. I'm really mixed on how I feel about this film. My overall enjoyment of it is, I love it. I think it's great. I think the concept is fantastic. I just think the execution overall could have been handled a lot better. That still said, this is a 4 out of 5 for me, and probably one of my more enjoyable Nightmare films. But I think that's more just because my mind goes to where this could have been.
Yeah.
When I'm watching it, I'm sat there, I'm like, oh, that's really cool. That would look really good if they did this. And I feel like that's why I like it more. So it probably gets more credit based on the overall concept and idea of it than the actual execution. But still, again, it's a 4 out of 5. I love it for what it is.
Okay. My 3 favourite Nightmare on Elm Street films is this, Dream Warriors, and the original. And they trade places regularly as to which one I enjoy the most. Now, when I went on BP's channel, on Let's Talk Horror channel, we'd done all the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, and New Nightmare was my number 1. I ranked it top on that rewatch. On this rewatch, I wasn't sure where it sat, so I then sat down and I watched this. I then watched Dream Warriors, and then I watched the original, and I'd done all of them back to back in one sitting.
In order, or did you watch?
No, I watched this first, then Dream Warriors, then the original.
All right, okay.
So I played it backwards. This movie's got lots of plot holes. It's got lots of issues. But with all of that, I still take some massive enjoyment from this. There's something about Freddy being real that I really like. And I really like watching this, having seen this Wes Craven Scream, is a completely different experience to when I watched this first time round. And I think that gives an added level of enjoyment, because I'm watching this knowing that as Wes is making it, he's got a notepad and he's like, that's great, that works, that's in Scream. That's great, that works, that's in Scream. Not too keen on that, that can go. And there's part of me that really likes that. And I do genuinely see this as a pilot for Scream.
Yeah.
And I can't help it. The most enjoyable movie in the franchise is Dream Warriors. It's just so much fun. It's silly and it's goofy. The original's brilliant because it is the original. And this sits on par with the original for me. It's still a 10 out of 10, despite its flaws and despite its sketchy effects, because there's something about it that just grabs me. And I can't put my finger on what it is, but there's something that I just genuinely love this movie.
Yeah, you can't knock it for its efforts. And I think that's why it gets such high appraisal from both of us, is because the idea and the bravery behind doing something like this with such a highly valued property, you can't help but give them props for doing it.
Yeah. It would be like taking Scream and completely spinning it on his head and everyone's hunting Ghostface from the off.
You just do a Halloween film, but take the exact same concept, but just have Jamie Lee Curtis playing herself having nightmares and flashbacks of Michael Myers, and then eventually Michael Myers comes for her,
Yeah,
the boogeyman, and it would work.
Yeah, and to have the balls to take a franchise of that level and go, yeah, I'm going to throw away everything that everyone knows and loves and thinks about, and I'm just going to do my own thing with it, takes a lot of guts to do that and to pull it off successfully. Takes a huge amount.
It is successfully-ish.
Successfully-ish. This week's challenge, there's only 6 to go. I've noticed that people aren't playing every single week. So I'm going to change the way we're doing this. It's not who plays the most, because that's not necessarily fair. People have lives and other stuff going on. So when this is over in 6 weeks' time, me and Mark are going to do a live. We're going to have a little spinny wheel. Every time you play is an entry, and that puts your name on the wheel. So if you play every week for the 10 weeks, you'll have your name on the spinny wheel 10 times. And we'll spin it, and someone's going to win some prizes. Anyway, this week's challenge is to share a post about your favourite movie in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. It could be a review, it could be a tweet, a picture, a video, anything you want, but it's got to be about your favourite. Not necessarily this movie, be it one on Dream Warriors or Dream Master, or God forbid someone loves Freddy's Dead.
There is some lunatics out there who actually do love that movie as well.
Yeah, but do any of them put that above the... It's got to be your favourite. If anyone does Freddy's Dead and it's genuinely their favourite, we will have a very long message conversation why I try to work out why.
And if you can justify it, you instantly win a prize.
Yeah. If you can't wait 8 weeks to get some merchandise, go to yourunpodcast.com and you can buy some. Be warned, there is a delay on merchandise. The people we use, Teespring, are incredibly busy, so there's a 3 to 4 week delay. Also, don't forget to leave us a review, share us, do all those nice things, because that helps the show as well. That's a wrap for this week. Next week, we're off to the ocean to play with submarines as we venture off to the Titanic. No, we don't.
Movie.
Yeah. Instead, we're off to the trench for the Meg 2. But until then, see you later, chum.
Cheers, guys. See you next week.
See you next week.
And, before I forget,
I'll kill you if this is a joke.
You want to die tonight?
The You Run Podcast.
The You Run Podcast.
The You Run Podcast.
The You Run Podcast.
Why isn't it possible?
I can't say nothing. Or Candyman'll get me.
You choose the movies.
I had a hard-on this morning when I woke up, Tina. Had your name written all over it.
You score them.
Nice fucking model!
You review them.
For that you get the head, the tail, the whole damn thing.
Why not, you stupid bastard?
My name is very fucking confused. What's your name?
Captain Howdy.
You don't want to go fooling around other folks' property.
In my goddamn soul. Where's a beer?
Because after all, this is not our show. This is your show.